A friend told me that I should try you guys. I just don't really know what's going on. Almost everyone of the small group of people I've told thinks I'm nuts, and what I figured out online has only made me more terrified. So here it goes. It all started a little over a year ago. I was driving around downtown, running some errands, minding my own business, when I come to a red light and a dark car pulls up next to me. Here, downtown is designed quite weird, where one lane will continue straight, and the other is forced to turn. Then 2 lights later, the straight line will be forced to turn. So you really need to be paying attention, or you'll be finding a new route to your destination. Anyways, this car that pulled up next to me catches my attention. It's got a dark black paint job and severely tinted windows, like illegally dark. I read it off as either a punk or some drug dealer. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. They are going to be turning as soon as the light lets them anyways. A few moments later, the light changes, and I start to go. Out of the corner of my eye, I see that the black car is also continuing straight. I honk and look over at him to see what he's playing at. The tint has disappeared from the glass, and what I saw I can hardly describe or explain. It was a pale, featureless face, but somehow it still seemed like there was a face. It was just blurred over. Looking back, I don't recall it really having a body either, like there was a black mist, but there wasn't a solid body. I slammed on my brakes, almost getting rear-ended by the vehicle behind me. As soon as I do this, the black car fades away, almost as if the whole thing was made of the mist. No one on the sidewalk seemed to notice, nor the other drivers. That was my first encounter. Before that day, I laughed at people who claimed to have seen the paranormal. The second time it happened was about 2 months later, in my girlfriend's basement. We were watching a movie on Netflix and chill, you know. I don't remember which movie. Some chick flick. We were the only ones home, and her family wasn't going to be home until the following evening. We were cuddling on the couch up against the wall, with the TV on the opposite wall, with a mirror right above it. From an angle, I could see just above my head on the wall behind me. There was no way into the room except past us. About an hour or so into the movie, something cheesy happened, and I let out a groan. I caught a glimpse of the mirror. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't look right then, but I don't think it would have been good. Right over the top of her head, I saw a silhouette of a tall figure, much more defined than the last time I saw it, but the head was actually there, sort of protruding out the wall. The shadow was reaching out towards the throat of my girlfriend's shadow. I freaked out and pulled her away. She told me to let go of her neck. I never touched her neck, only her arm. All I could think to do was punch the wall where the head was, pushing through. As I made connection, it disappeared. A moment later, we heard a glass shatter upstairs, and the front door slam open. After a few minutes, we built up the courage to go and see what happened. I had her brother's baseball bat, and she was hiding behind me. We got upstairs only to see exactly what we heard. A shattered glass that I left in the sink, now scattered across the kitchen floor, as if it had been thrown, and the door hanging wide open. We cleaned up everything, still jumping out of our skins at every sound, and went back downstairs. There is a weird mark on the wall where I hit it like a burn. This is when I told her about my experience downtown. Surprisingly, she's one of the ones who don't believe me. That was the second encounter. After this, I started having night terrors. This was especially weird as I hardly ever have dreams, and I can remember in the mornings, let alone whatever was happening now. Every time it was the same thing. Something would be happening. Some of the closest to me were in it. And then the thing would show up. Everyone would be terrified, and it would kill and consume one of my loved ones. This was the point where I would wake up. The next time I would have the dream, the person he killed in the last one would not be there. Would come back after someone else died. This went on for the longest time, becoming more and more common for me to wake up in the middle of the night, freaking out. Each time it would be more and more vivid. Then came this last winter. I was going to school in a different city last year because the course wasn't offered here. It was only an hour away, so I would drive home most weekends. This weekend in particular was not a good one. There was a big snowstorm on the Saturday, and the roads were going to be terrible. I didn't end up leaving until just before the nightfall on Sunday. Good part was that the highway was rather empty. Just after I passed the halfway point of my journey, things started getting weird. A dark fog rolled in, and we don't normally have fog at nighttime. It was bad. Like not even 2 minutes in and I could hardly see past the hood of my car. I pull to the shoulder and slow to 25 kilometers per hour a few seconds later. I see headlights from the oncoming side of the highway. Twinned highway, ditch in the middle. This car is just flying. Then the lights turn towards me, and he is in the ditch. Next thing I know, he's come over to my side, and is heading straight for me. I swerve all the way over to the inside lane so that he does not hit me, and he does the same. I pull over to the side I was already on, and he skids to a stop sideways across the road, only a few car lengths away. As soon as the car comes to a stop, my car goes dead. No lights whatsoever. He did the same, nothing at all. I sat there panicking for what seemed like forever, but must have been only a few seconds. Then the most terrifying thing of my life happens. The other driver's door opens, and the cab lights turn on. It's the same faceless thing. As it gets out of the car, it seems to grow. It was a good 20 feet tall, more of a shape than the first time, but still not completely human. All I could manage was, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, as I tried to get my car started. Finally it came through, and I was out of there. Didn't look back until the fog had lifted. That was the third encounter. Scariest thing to ever happen to me. Some time went on, still having the dream every couple days, until about a month ago. It was getting really bad, like every night it was happening. Sometimes twice a week, until the most recent one. This wasn't like any of the others, much worse. It started out, at least the part I start remembering from, with me driving my little brother somewhere. I don't know where, as it started with us already in the car, neither of us talking, just looking straight ahead. For whatever reason, we were listening to a country station. Neither of us like country, so I go ahead and start adjusting the dial to find something better to listen to, preferably rock. But I don't get far enough to know if I could even find one, because as soon as the country station turned to static, my brother starts convulsing violently. I slam on the brakes, throw it in park, and turn to see him, and what I can do for help. As I'm doing so, his body is starting to stretch, and his face looks like it's melting. I start to push myself away in fear, and he begins to reach out towards me. I'm not sure if he wanted help or wanted to hurt me. I'm struggling, trying to get out of my seatbelt and out of the car, but the moment he touches my chest, we are no longer in the car, no longer anywhere near where we were just a moment ago. We are now standing on the edge of a very high building, and I am petrified by fear, both of my brother and the altitude. My brother is no longer my brother, though. I mean, it's still his body, his clothes, his hair, but it's no longer him. The being in front of me was a good 3 feet taller than me, extremely gaunt, as it's just a stretch-out form of my under 5-foot brother. It has no face, just a featureless head, but still with my brother's unkept, curly hair. The being, who was still in the same outreach position as it was in the car, takes a handful of my shirt and lifts me into the air, a good foot or so into the air, just so that I still have to look up to it, and it back down. It steps forward, so then I am now dangling over the edge of this tower, completely helpless. I manage to get out. Who are you? And from all around in a deep, sinister, non-human voice, I hear, Malachi. As he says this, he lets go, and I wake up, drenched in sweat. I sat there for the next hour freaking out, hardly able to comprehend what I just went through. Now that I have a name, I decide to try to look at what the hell has been happening to me. After scouring forums, I finally found what I was looking for, and I don't know if I really wanted to find it after all. There was a big part of me that honestly hoped I was crazy, and that none of this was really ever happening. There was a woman in Ireland, I believed, who had an encounter with the same thing I had been seeing. This was faceless and formless, and called itself by the same name. The difference was that he had actually possessed her, whereas the first sign of possession had been in my dream only a few hours before. Stupidly, I decided that I want to look further, hoping that this was not my fate. I ended up finding that Malachi is a name Lucifer himself likes to go by. So that was my story. This is me, the guy who never believed any of this to be anywhere near possible, freaking out because Satan might be using me as a plaything. I don't really know what posting here will achieve, to be honest, but I need to get it off my chest. And even if only one of you believe me, it would make me feel so much better. I'm open to anything, really. And, thanks for listening.